Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Dave Noodles, and we are on the Type 88 show, where we talk to people about how they turn their dreams into reality. And this man right here is no stranger to checking things off his bucket list, his goal list, making things happen. And I'm grateful to have my guy here with me, Johnny Montano. What's up, man?
What's going on, Dave, man? Thank you for having me, bro. I'm like super grateful right now, bro. Truly.
It's good to have you, bro. So, for anyone who doesn't know, maybe let us know where you grew up and where it all started for you.
Yeah, man. So born and raised in Jersey, homegrown, from Roselle. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I pretty much lived my whole life here. I mean, I lived out in Florida for like a couple months, but we ended up coming back and just stood here pretty much. Yeah.
That's sick, man. So I know you got your hands in a bunch of different stuff. You maybe we could kind of break it down how you got even into the whole world of just arts, and then we could just go from there. So how did how did you find music or art, or where did it all start for you? Like your passion for the arts.
Yeah, man. So honestly, bro, like music has been like in my household like my entire life ever since like I can legit remember. One clear memory of when music really hit me, like deep, deep, without really like putting a finger on it. I remember I was like 4 years old. I was living in a small apartment with my sister, my mother, and I remember one night my sister, mind you, my sister's like 15 years older than me. So she's playing music, the top hits around, her age. So she's playing R&B, a lot of Brandy. And so I remember she played some R&B music and I was sleeping. I was literally in the living room and I woke up and something hit me. Something was like, what's that sound? What's that sound? And I just started hearing it from her bedroom because it's a small apartment. So from the living room, I'm able to hear the music. And so it just hit me. I'm like, wow, like I didn't know what it was. I'm like 4 or 5 years old. And I just knew ever since then, like music has been something like it's been a tool. It's been a tool that I've used throughout my whole, journey of life, really, whether it's healing, meditation, things like that. So it started there as a kid. And I remember growing up, I messed around with a couple instruments. I messed around with the piano, the guitar, wasn't really feeling it until like I hit like 19. I picked up the drumsticks, started learning how to play the drums. And ever since then, I fell in love with it. And I just started, playing at my local church. Then I went from that to learning how to produce. Used to go to Sam Ash on Route 22 every Saturday. They was giving like free Ableton lessons from like 10 to 12. And I was there like faithfully, got really close with the engineer there. His name is Jarrell. Shout out to Jarrell. I learned a lot from him. And yeah, so I started learning from there. I started to take the things that I learned there, went home, started giving myself homework, learning. And, within like 2 years, man, like, now I'm here recording, producing, recording. I know a little bit about mixing and mastering, but I leave that to the professionals because that takes years to develop. But I love
Yeah.
the craft of the whole thing from the snare all the way to, the mastering, phase. But man, I love it. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. I study it. I live. I breathe this, and yeah, man. So we're here now.
Here we
Two
are.
pro, two projects later, two EPs later. So I'm grateful for that.
That's a blessing, man, to one have a family member that is sharing their passion, just just playing music, and then just having an older sibling is just a blessing. I don't know firsthand, but I have some like adopted brothers, adopted sisters, there's people a little bit older than me that have always looked out for me. But to grow up with an older sister just playing tunes, I know that was special for me growing up when I had a young well, I have a younger brother, but I would always play my favorite stuff for him. And he knew about Biggie and Pac and
Mm-hmm.
Jada and everything
Mm-hmm.
when he was like 4 years old.
Yeah.
So it's just cool to just be able to share that love for music with your family. And then that's so cool. So here and then
Yeah.
I love how you just took initiative. you saw you saw these classes that were just like, well, here we're gonna teach you a little something, and you took
Yeah,
it like
yeah,
it was like a
yeah.
class in school. You're like, I'm gonna go every week. I'm gonna apply anything I learn, and there's free resources out there. Let me make the most of this free resource because there's so many out
Yep.
there. But what are we gonna do with those resources?
That's facts. That's facts. Absolutely, man. You know,
That's
it's what you do with what you got. And that's one of the things too that I talk about. I try to encourage people, just use what you have. Sometimes I know it gets discouraging. We want the best of the best right away, but we have to learn how to use what we have currently. So that way, once we get to that level, we know what to do,
that's so
you know?
real. Yeah, yeah. Chef, did they start with the huge kitchen like Emerald? Did he start in, or Guy, or whoever your favorite
Yeah,
chef
yeah.
is? Did they start? They probably started with a pot, a couple of knives, a couple of forks, and some salt and pepper, and it's like, let me figure this out. Let me put this together. Let me put this on this, and
Yeah.
I feel like having passion and love for what you're doing are the hidden ingredients. You love what you do. I was talking to my dad the other day. He loves what he does. It just drives you regardless of anything else. And if you're making it your career or not, or whatever it is, as long as you have the love for it, I feel like it's that hidden ingredient to really finding what you do and just keep doing it, regardless of what you're making from it, as long as it's making you happy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
here you are. You said 2 projects later. When
Mm-hmm.
was that first time you put yourself out there? Because I know just going out and being saying to everyone, "Hey, I make music," or "Hey, I'm a painter." You're stepping out in the world. So how was that for you? Just
Man,
kind of putting
bro,
yourself out there.
So it's a great question, bro, because I dropped my first single back in 2018. I was 21, right? So I dropped my first single, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that, I've been dabbling in music and I just wanted to just throw a single out there. And to be quite honest with you, I was not expecting to get as many great responses as I did, and I didn't know how to follow up. I didn't know how to follow up. Like I was still in that space where I wasn't fully committed to the music yet, because I was in college and I had to really decide, all right, because I love music and I know how I am. So it's like if I'm gonna pursue this, it was hard for me to like even go 50%. It's either I go 100% or I don't do it at all. So I was stuck in limbo between going to school and then doing music. So when I dropped that single, I'm like, man, and like knowing that I have to follow up, but not knowing how because I was still, going to school. I'm like, oh man, like this is not my reality yet. At least that's how I was feeling, that's how I was feeling. That was my thought process. And so, but yeah, everybody was telling me to like keep going, but it was that self-doubt that I had at that time because I wasn't really like, although I knew the potential that I had at the time, I wasn't walking in it yet.
Or
I was still like, all right, like, that's a journey. That's a path that once you decide,
yeah,
there's no going back. So at least that's just again, like that's just what I was thinking. So what I ended up doing was I finished school, right? So 2 years later after that, um, 2 years later from that moment, that's when I started going to Ableton and stuff like that. So, and then that's when I decided, you know what, from here on out, like I already tried the school thing, wasn't really working out. So I dropped out, went to Kane, transferred over from Middlesex, went to Kane, dropped out, and I was just like full throttle from here. And then ever since that moment, because it was in that moment that gave me the boost that I needed, because I was able to sit down with myself and give myself enough time to really decide, like, all right, if you're going to take that hike up that mountain, that's it. You're climbing it. You're going to get to the top. Like, not top, literally, but just that journey. You're going to start it. And however,
yeah,
whatever comes with that, you're going to have to adapt and maneuver, pivot, do whatever you need to do, but just know that's it, you know? And so from that moment, I decided, you know, I'm gonna pursue it. And just things started to kind of fall into place. I still feel like I'm still in the building, you know,
Yeah,
stage, like, you know, but I'm happy, you know, I'm truly, truly, genuinely happy. Um,
that's great.
you know, and yeah, that's pretty much it, man, for real. So, and that's where we're at. But a lot of self-doubt, limiting beliefs, you know,
Yeah,
I had a lot of limiting beliefs at the time, but you know, with time, like really spending time with yourself, you're able to identify those things and work towards them and overcome them,
yeah.
and put one foot in front of the other. That's it. Start the journey. Mm-hmm.
It's real. You're going into a place of the unknown. There isn't a book to read to figure it out. You're in this game of life, and now you have to figure it out. And you're starting fresh. Imagine you, a new career, day one, whether it's Wall Street, fatherhood, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. You're starting something new, regardless of all the advice you've ever heard. You're in that world now, and you have to figure it out. So I think there's this, I think you said it, once you made the decision, you felt this sigh of relief because
Mm-hmm.
you were in limbo. I think that
Yeah.
just applies to so many things because I know it applies to me. There's things that I'm patiently waiting to do, or I want to do, or I'm thinking about doing, but then when I make the decision, and it just feels different, regardless if I'm ready or not. A lot of the stuff I'm not ready completely, but I've been preparing myself my whole life for that. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's all right, now I'm here, time to figure this out, or I'm out, right? So you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to leave what you're doing, and you're just like, all right, I'm gonna figure it out day by day. And
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
what life is. And school is, I think, is a good thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm a supporter
Yeah.
of educating yourself forever. So you left school, but then you started learning
Yeah.
this new path, how to make it
Uh-huh.
work, how to turn it into something, how to provide, how to how to evolve and grow. So I know you're into a bunch of creative stuff. I know you're into like fashion, architecture, interior design. Maybe you could kind of break some of that stuff down. Where did it start? It started with music, and then those things kind of fell into place. Maybe tell us a little bit about kind of just expanding your mind beyond just the music and just having loves for other things and how it all works for you.
Yeah. So actually going back to college, right? I took an art class, and in that art class, that's when I felt I was able to tap into other sides of creativity, you know, that I had that I wasn't truly aware of. You know, and because that's what they do, right? They push you, and they push you into like different environments, and you know, like whether it's painting and charcoal and all this other stuff. And so being able to dabble around that, that also pushed me to look up artists or Renaissance man, Leonardo da Vinci. That's how I was able to really learn his story. And once I started to do more research on him and understanding how creativity for him wasn't just about painting, you know, because he wasn't in a box. He was a painter, an engineer, a scientist. He was so much more than just what we know him for today, you know, painting the Last Supper or the Mona Lisa. And so at its heart, creativity is curiosity. So the more I became curious about these different areas, whether it's architecture, interior design, the more I started to learn and started to find new areas of myself. And so yeah, I just love it all. Like it's being a fan of life, you know, as cheesy or corny as it may sound, is just
Uh-huh.
really genuinely loving it, loving every aspect of life, because you can learn so much. And like you
Yeah.
said, we're lifelong learners. We never stop learning, whether you graduated from college last June or whatever, you just keep learning. You never stop growing. And so that's really what it was. And also an interest too, like, I've always been interested in design, and because design is essentially linked to inspiration for me. Like when I see something new designed well, whether it's Elon Musk designing a Tesla or a Cybertruck, it kind of like, takes you to this whole new space. It's like, oh wow, that design took me to this whole new space. So now I'm able to create more and be more curious. It's this very abstract thing that I feel like only real creatives know and get, but it's a real thing. So yeah, and that's really where it started, man. It's no real pinpoint thing. It's just a lifelong thing where it's like, oh snap, like just things
Yeah.
catching your eyes and learning about yourself.
It's so
Yeah,
important. The other
yeah,
day I was talking to my friend and they were cutting my hair and they were like, I don't even know what to say that I am. And they were just really having a tough time. And I was just like, you're an artist. You're someone
yeah.
that makes stuff, solves problems, or makes people think. And
Mm-hmm.
we are, but I was like, an artist is not just someone that paints or not just someone that
Yeah,
makes a beat. There's
yeah,
so
yeah.
there's so much to it. But I was saying this. I was like, whatever you now do is now who you are, and whatever you bring to the table is who you are. But I would say, and my friend Sean and I were talking about this the other day. We're all artists, but what are we choosing to create? Whether we're making dinner for our fam, that's an art. Are we building bridges in a union or fixing boats? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We're all adding to this canvas of life. What are we adding to it? What are we contributing? And it's cool. We're
absolutely.
all playing our part in our own way. And it's just cool to just I remember I was in college and I learned about this guy, Keith Haring, and
Mm-hmm.
just seeing him be free and just loving life and doing what he does anywhere in the world, whether it was a subway station or outside school mural, just seeing someone express themselves is just a beautiful thing. And that's great that you could find inspiration in so many things and you're just constantly finding these new things to appreciate. And that's what life's all
Mm-hmm.
about, I feel.
Absolutely. And that's it right there. Finding new things to appreciate. That's really what it is. I think that's in essence what true creativity is, like
Yeah.
learning, like finding something and appreciating it to so much to the point where you want to add to it, you want to add value to it, in whichever area that is, whether, like you said, whether you're a barber, you want to add, what I'm saying, to that industry, or if you're into finances, you want to add something to, what I'm saying, Wall Street, like you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier, like things like that, finding areas where you appreciate and now wanting to add value to that. So I think that's a great point, man, for
Yeah.
real.
Thanks, man. I feel once we stop learning and once we stop giving, I don't even know what the point of life is. Straight up. That's how I see it. I just feel as long as we're here breathing, we could give our time to the things we love to help others, give our time to others, give our time to things that matter. It's not always about giving cash or donating to the GoFundMe. We could spend a little bit of time every day just sending people messages, calling someone. Giving is so deep too. It's just like being an artist.
Mhm.
We could give in so many ways to so many people. And so you've been giving people great vibes. You said people have been digging the tracks. What kind of feeling is that when you do perform or when you share new music and stuff and you hear the love and support or even criticism? How does that feel to you? What's that like?
Wow, man. So when it comes to performing, I think that there's there's no feeling that you can match it to because it's so unique. When you're able to be up on stage and to be able to share the art that you've cultivated in private in your room or wherever in your car to now a couple people, whether it's 10, 15, 20 people, but to be able to share it, it's a very unique experience. And to be able to receive that energy in that moment, um, it's a great feeling. It's an amazing feeling. Um, and when it comes to the criticism, honestly, truthfully, it's all just a learning experience about yourself. You're really just learning about yourself because sometimes it ain't really about them. There's always going to be people that, that just not going to feel what you're doing. That's totally fine. But it's when that happens, is when those moments come. What do you do? Like, and that's where accountability steps in, right? What do you do? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? And what do you say about yourself? Because it's very easy to pick up other voices and make it our own, when really the part of progression isn't about that. It's about, you know again, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, who do you say you are? And building upon that. So, you know
It's real.
because like, yeah, there's always going to be people, and there's always going to be people that just not going to see the vision that you have, not now, and who knows, maybe later down the line, because of how you carry yourself, they actually might go back at your OSIF and be like, you know what, he actually had a point at the time, I just wasn't in the space to really receive it. So and
Yeah.
that's something that I'm learning. This is probably something that I wouldn't have said like a couple years ago, because it's only thing that you learn as you put yourself out there. If you're not putting yourself out there, you don't really know how to deal with that side of yourself. But the more you start to open up and express yourself and give people, a vulnerable side of you, you're able to grow in those areas. So yeah, it's just
It's
a
real.
learning experience. Yeah, man. So
That's amazing, man. So just as a lover of music, maybe we could kind of break down your thoughts of just the the world of hip hop, the state of hip hop. Where do you
mm,
see it? What do you think of it right now? Uh, what's your thoughts on everything?
man, so I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a hybrid. I think it's a hybrid right now. You
Yeah.
got a mixture of a lot of stuff right now. You got a mixture of trap and R&B and boom bap and auto tune, and it's definitely a hybrid, and just embracing, the different genres, subgenres. But personally, like me, I'm into, like, just the music that I've grew up on because of the soul. Not saying that there isn't soul music now, but just how I like to receive. I just love listening to rappers, like whether it's Joey from Pro Era. Um, I like listening to Vince Staples from the West Coast. I like, of course, Kendrick Lamar is like my favorite rapper, so I'm always gonna be bumping his stuff. Kanye West's old albums, like College Dropout, Graduation, that's a classic to me. J. Cole, The Forest Hill Drive, like, great album,
Everything.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's a classic right there. So I love listening to classics because it's a classic for a reason, and I like to gain inspiration from that. So that's the kind of music that I like to listen to. But somebody that I would bump to now that's new and upcoming, I would say Saba. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Have you ever heard of him? Saba?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like amazing rapper. Jid, also another great rapper who signed under J. Cole.
Yep. Yep.
Love his stuff. He's definitely like pushing the boundary in terms of like hip hop and rap. And so definitely looking out for him. Um, but yeah, I mean, so that's essentially like, my taste in hip hop. What are some people you've been listening to?
Oh man. So just my take on hip hop now,
Yeah,
it's such a variety. It's
yeah,
like where do you want to travel today, Dave? Do you want to go down
yeah, yeah,
south? Do you want to go to the Bronx? Do you want to go to Buffalo, upstate? Do you want what do you want? And
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so grateful that there's such a variety. And if I'm not in the mood for a trap vibe, I'll just take the trip down to ATL put on
Yeah.
AT Aliens or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Outcast.
if I'm not in the mood
Yeah.
for, a drill track on Hot 97, I'll turn on Graduation and go
Mm-hmm.
and listen to Homecoming or listen to
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
Life.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So
Nah, I
I
feel you,
I
man.
love hip hop. It's one of the most important things in my life. I love the evolution and just how things have broke off. I think it's the most evolving sound and just the sampling, and it's just such an inspiration. It's one of the most inspiring things in the world. Is just hip hop, and it influences the whole world. So I love it. I've been bumping. Whew, I've been bumping. So I always pull out the purple tape. That to me is always just, it gets me in a mood. I really like Russ's Chomp 2, where
Mm-hmm.
he has all the hip hop features. It's one of my favorite hip hop albums. And then we may not even look at Russ as a hip hop artist, right? He's this kind of blend hybrid, but that album is heat.
Mm.
I'm trying to think. I've been bumping the JIT album. I've been bumping the new Eddie I, Delgados. That's
Mm.
one of my good friends. I'm grateful I listen to a lot of stuff by people. They send me their stuff ahead of time. I get to hear
Yeah, yeah.
stuff months or years even ahead of time.
That's awesome.
I
That's
I've
awesome.
been digging the Kendrick. I really love what he did with it. It was just
Yeah.
it was such, I'm trying to even put it into words. Just having Kodak Black and the guy and who's that guy? He's always on Oprah, but to have those two people narrating your album is just,
Oh yeah.
it was just something else just for him to do that. And I love that it was nothing like the last album where it
Mm-hmm.
where you may want something, oh, I wish we could hear Damn, or I wish we could hear Pimp a Butterfly, and then he's like, nope, I'm gonna take you through this movie. And he literally takes you on a movie from it. I've been bumping Aquemini.
Outcast.
Yeah. So every month I on the 8th I buy a new album. So
Oh wow.
it's like Columbia House
Mm-hmm.
2022. But it's curated by me. So I'll either buy an album I should have bought when I was younger, because a lot of the time I didn't buy every album I wanted when I was younger. I either downloaded a few tracks, I had a mixtape, I burned it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so I'll go back and be like, why don't I have this? I'm gonna buy it right now. And then so I do that, or I'll buy a brand new album that I've been really digging. This for I know it's not hip hop, but the weekend after hours, Dawn FM. I mean Dawn
Mm-hmm.
FM. It's one of my favorite albums of the year. It's a fun, dark, upbeat album, and he did it
Mm-hmm.
again. And it's just, I know it's not hip hop, but so I
Yeah.
just enjoy so much different stuff, man. And I'm grateful to be in the underground scene and get to hear so many good things. What would you say is your album of the year, 2022?
Man, my album of the year, man, like, and this is biased, but I gotta give it to Kendrick, man. I gotta give it to Kendrick. And it's because of the fact that one, I've been waiting for it for so long, but I truly feel like I understood his intentions behind the album. And I felt like truly like it was a smart thing. Because I feel like what people wanted from him were bangers and radio hits, but he was like, no, you know what? People think that I'm not human at this point because I dropped three critically acclaimed albums. No, seriously, like it was to
Mm,
the point where people thought like, Kendrick's a god. And so he had to address that in his album in the track called Savior. He's like, yo, like we might have inspired you, but we're not your savior. And so to get to that point where it's like, wow, you're so big that you have to dress. You know what? I'm human too. let me take you down this journey. And although a lot of people didn't want that, I respected that because I'm like, wow, he knew he could have just kept going. He could have just kept dropping, you know what I'm saying? Just keep that momentum going. But he's like, although this move, people may not understand it, I know that it's necessary and I'm gonna do it. Because technically, if you compare that album, the one that he just dropped, to his other ones, like, no, I would definitely go with the other ones, but because of his intention and like, just being in the position that he in, I respect that move. So I see it holistically, not just the
Yeah.
art form, but also like, as an artist, because when you're an independent artist, you know, um, you think of so much more than just the lyrics and the beat. You're thinking of the timing, or at least I am, I'm thinking of the timing. How is he dropping it? What's the rollout look like? And so I'm looking at it, the bigger picture. And so
Yeah.
that's the reason why I got to give it to him. But if I didn't give it to him personally, I would give it to Vince Staples. His last album, Romana Park broke my heart. I love that album, man. Like it's probably not like something that people are really bumping right now, but I always catch the things that fall through the cracks, and like I
Hmm.
appreciate this stuff. So it's not something that a lot of people would probably agree with, but it's just,
Yeah.
listen, man, I love hip hop. So yeah, and I appreciate like great music. So I would give it a Vince too, if it wasn't
Yeah.
Kendrick.
That's real, bro. For me, it's tough because I'm definitely gonna check that Vince because I didn't hear that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
That
definitely
one
gonna
fell through
do
the
that.
cracks.
That
Yeah,
the
it dropped
Ken.
back in April.
Okay,
Yeah,
I love the Kendrick. I totally
yeah,
agree. He got superhuman, not superhuman. He got very human on this, and he
yeah,
really
yeah,
got super personal.
yeah,
Where you
yeah.
thought he was turning into a rap god, which he's proven he is. But he
Mm-hmm,
took you to different places on every track, and it was truly a movie. Um,
mm-hmm.
and each song was a movie, which was even cooler. It was a whole story, but then there was a movie, but then there were all these stories within the movie. It was
Yep,
interesting for
yep,
me, man. It's hard to say the album of the year, but
yeah,
for me, in terms of just, I feel like impact, where I felt like the music culture kind of like music just kind of stopped and just watched to see what happened. I gotta give it to Ye, bro, on Donda, man. He
oh
literally
yeah,
made the
Donda.
whole, I feel like he made just the whole world stop and just tune in and figure out what was going on. And he just kept pulling the rug and like doing all these different things.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
sonically, he did this like drill Christian album.
yeah, yeah,
He he pinpointed all these things and there were no curses on it. I feel like for him it was just this another moment of growth because you didn't know what he was going to do after. I don't even know the last one, Jesus is King or whatever. So, but then he took it. I feel like Jesus is King. He went very Christian, which was
mm-hmm,
really
mm-hmm,
cool.
mm-hmm.
But he was like, you know what? I want to go back to. He kind of mixed like Yeezus vibes with
Yeah,
he mixed a lot of his methods and made Donda, and he dropped like 30 tracks. So that was a
yeah,
moment for me. Both those albums were moments this year for me. And of
mm,
course I love The Weekend, Dawn FM. Even though that's not hip hop, but I truly just it came out at a special time. It uplifted me. It makes me happy. But then it takes me to these kind of dark places that you kind of find yourself out of, which is cool.
mm-hmm, mm.
So I love that album too, and I love like 80s sounds. So
Word, yeah,
that's
yeah,
dope, man. So
yeah, bro.
for artists now, we're always trying to find a way to communicate. So what would you say about what's your thoughts on the social media game for independent artists? You have any advice? The effect it has? What's your take on all that?
Yeah, man. So for social media, bro, I mean, there's so many different strategies. and you have to take in consideration the algorithm, the timing. And so I would always encourage anybody, whether you are an artist or just a casual user, to just keep in mind how much time you actually spend, because their goal really is to keep you on it, and it's a tool at the end of the day. You could, it's a tool that you can use to bless others, but it's also something that you can use to eventually like hurt yourself, or really, if you don't know how to use it mentally, because um
Yeah.
you can spend a lot of time, scrolling, looking at like just like, we don't realize how much time actually goes by when we use these apps. And so I would
Totally.
just encourage anybody, like, be mindful of like how social media plays a role in your life, because one thing's for sure, it's not going anywhere. Like, it came at a time where we least expected it, but now it's staying, whether we want it, or not, like, it's here. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
now the question is, how do we manage it? What role do we give it in our lives? How much priority do we give it? And some of us, we live off of this stuff. Like, some people
yeah.
legit, that's their job. And so it's definitely a balance, but I would always just encourage people to just go back to the basics. Make sure that you're taking time to meditate, to pray, to go to the gym, go outside, go in nature. If you got to take a couple pictures, go ahead and do it, but don't spend so much time on these platforms that you start to like really neglect the very important areas of your life. Because it's real, and it happens a lot. Like, we've heard countless stories of just people really going down a really dark spiral, because whether they're comparing themselves, they feel like they're behind, or
Yeah, yeah.
it's a real thing. So yeah, so that's like my encouragement. Yeah, like, just be mindful, be very mindful.
That's real. Yeah, we're all created, right? But then we we all have chromosomes in different parts of us. Most of us have eyes and ears and, you know, senses, but our chemical breakdown is so different, right? You could eat
Mm-hmm.
maybe you may eat a pineapple and may completely screw you up, but me, it may
Mm-hmm.
be everything to me, and it may completely
Yeah,
turn
yeah,
turn my whole day around, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's just I love it. Understanding yourself and just figuring
yeah.
out and not neglecting the things that matter. And of course, it's true. If I spend all day working and then I come home at 1 a.m., I'm not available for my family. I'm not available for my lady. Certain things are are suffering a little bit, or you're not able to distribute, the water across all the ponds that you've built. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel you. I feel you, man. Yeah, figure what's
Facts.
right for you. What works for you?
Absolutely.
What's your recipe for a balanced day? I had an interest in my friend Lamar. He was like, his take was interesting. He's like, I spend 10 hours a day on my phone.
Wow.
He's like, but I'm
Wow.
gonna own up to it. I write to people all day. I call people. I'm having meetings. I'm commenting and I'm messaging people that inspire me, and I'm giving them positivity. I'm talking to clients. He's like, for me, it's it's essential. It's my way of getting my message across and getting the word
Mm-hmm.
out. So just his take on it was interesting,
Yeah.
because it's true. That's what he needed, and he realized it was a tool that has assisted him in communicating his messages and helping others. But it's true. It could take you like anything. I could get a chainsaw and build a house. I could get a chainsaw and end up in jail tomorrow, depending
Yeah.
on what I do
Yeah.
with it. So
Mm-hmm.
just take care of yourself with it. That's real.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then you mentioned a lot of things: meditating, praying, all these different things. When is the best time for you to do all that stuff? Do you have
That's a
set
great
times?
question.
Do you have
That's a
set
great
times? Do you
question,
mix it
bro.
up?
So I have like ideal times. Don't always make it there, but
Yeah.
I always try to make sure that I'm checking those boxes some at some point throughout the day. I mean, ideally, I would love to do that in the morning. I love working out at night.
Okay.
These are just like little things that I've just learned about myself. Um, but sometimes I'm not able to, do everything the way that I would like, my day to go. But
Yeah.
so yeah, it's like not really like I don't really have like a set schedule just yet. I'm working on it. Like I have this
Yeah.
ideal like schedule for my week and I try to stay as consistent as possible. But as long as I'm getting those things done throughout the day, like I'm pretty much, set. So
That's real.
yeah, yeah,
It goes back to balance and knowing what's right for you. My friend the other
yeah.
day, I was talking to him. He puts mad pressure on himself and it works in his benefit.
Hmm.
He he'll give himself even more pressure. He'll be like, "Oh, I want it to be the best." I and for some that could be too much, but for him
Hmm.
it works perfectly. It's just what he needs. He's figured out his formula to make it work. So that's great that you're aware and you know what you want to do and you're like, all right, I'll do it. All right, I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna make it work. If I don't, I'm not gonna give myself too much hard time. And we start a blank page tomorrow and just make it all happen. So
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
real.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it evolves, your
Yeah.
life changes and but as long as you're being intentional with what's important to you in this season, take it in
Yeah.
seasons. I like to just keep my focus in the season and then adapt as I grow,
Mm,
you know.
that's real, man. That's definitely real. What are some aspects in life that maybe you're aware of, but you're like, you know what, I gotta get better here, or I gotta level up here. I could tell you a
Oof.
few things that I'm dealing with right now. One is procrastination. When because on big decisions, it's tough for me because I'm in some moments where I'm like making these big decisions.
Mm,
So a lot of the time, I'm just like, oh man, what do I do? What about this? And then this inner voice comes and I start questioning all these things. So for me, a word that I'm starting to use more is being firm. And because sometimes even when I speak, some people think I'm asking them a question and I'm actually telling them something.
mhm,
So it made me aware of how I was talking to people. I was like, I don't think I'm being firm enough or communicating well enough when I'm saying what I need or what I want. Because I've talked to people and a lot of the time my folks they'll be like, oh, they'll think I'm asking them a question, but I'm telling them something. I'm like, no, ma, that was a period, not a
mhm.
question mark. Or they may just think I need stuff and or they want to help me. Whatever it is, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna be more firm. I'm gonna be if I want to take someone out to lunch, I'm not just gonna say, hey, when do you want to go out? People are like, yo, get ready. I'm gonna scoop you up. And
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
taken those kind of actions lately and they've actually been very positive because I kind of always grew up kind of just being like, oh, well, whatever you want to do. Meanwhile, I knew what could have been a good thing. I had a good recommendation. So I think for me, it's just being firm, being like, yo, babe, let's go to the sushi spot. Oh, you don't want to go? Oh, what do you want to do? But with me, it's like, all right, be more firm. Hey, babe, let's go look at this spot. Oh, bro, I'm going to scoop you up right now. And because I'm tired of hearing a lot of, I'll let you know, we'll figure it out. Because a lot of the time it pushes it off. And I'm just like, oh man, that never happened. And it started with the I'll
Mm,
let you know. So I'm like,
mm,
yo, we're talking, we're gonna book this. Let's not let each other know. We could look at our calendar now and figure it out. It's just being more firm and more taking more action for me. What about you? Any things that you're trying to level up this season?
Yeah, man. But first, yo, but honestly, just going back to and like piggybacking off of what you said, bro, that's a word right there, bro, because um like the day can turn out so differently, just by taking initiative and just being like, we're just gonna try it out, because at the end of the day, we're everything's an experiment for the most part, you don't really know how it's going to turn out until you give it a chance. So that's a great word. But for me personally, I would have to say it's like setting boundaries, setting boundaries respectfully, because I think that we live in a world where people feel offended when they hear a no. Sometimes, depending on what culture you're coming from, especially when you're coming from a Hispanic culture, they do not like to hear no, And so it's so but it's important to understand that a no doesn't necessarily mean a disrespect or anything like that. It's just, it's just another form of communication. But no is so important for your health because you can't say yes to everything, you know, and a yes at the wrong time could be extremely healthy to both parties. So it's important to know how to say no, and say no respectfully. And also too, learning how to deal with some of the responses that you might get when you give a no, because not everybody's going to take it lightly, or they're going to take it the way that you would like for them to receive it, because you know people have their own ways of dealing with things. So if you tell them a no, it's kind of like you're saying like you don't care about them, or whatever
Mm,
narrative is playing in their head is going to play, and that's out of your control. So it's important, you know at least for
yeah,
me in this season, just dealing with that, dealing with whatever comes with it, and then growing from that. So whether it's like having a follow-up conversation, like, hey, I know that you kind of felt, this way last time we spoke and stuff like that, but that's not how I meant it, and just growing,
yeah,
and also another thing too, man, I learned a lot about just the friendships and the relationships that I've have based off of setting boundaries. Sometimes, man, like, yo, like setting boundaries has really highlighted the people that actually want to be in my life. It's deep. It gets really
yeah,
deep, because it's the moment you start setting boundaries, that's when you start to see whether if people genuinely want to be in your life because they respect you and they care about your feelings too and your thoughts and your input,
mhm,
or they wanted something out of you that now they can't get it because you're setting parameters around your life. And you know so it's like it's almost like a filter. And
yeah,
but
yeah,
again though, it's knowing when to have a follow-up conversation with when somebody doesn't really understand, or whether somebody was just like, like you kind of
yeah,
like they just expose themselves. So it's a real thing, man. It's a really deep thing, because we live in a real world, and not everybody has pure intentions when they're stepping into your life. And you have to discern, you have to know, like, and it's hard
yeah,
sometimes because we don't always get it right, but it's definitely something that I truly believe that is helped me in this season of my life to strengthen the relationships that I do have, and to
yeah.
be able to identify the ones that weren't so strong, so
I love it.
so yeah, so setting boundaries, man, for sure.
That's key, man. That's key. Yeah, something I want to learn, man, is more about how to manage a property. So
Okay.
that's actually a new goal of mine. I just want to learn how to manage a property. What goes into what's a pipe? Like what's this
Okay.
valve thing on the side? Why do I need to fix this? I don't know any
Yeah.
of that shit. And I
Yeah.
just want to
Yeah.
be aware because I see myself owning a couple of spots before I,
That's what's up, man.
in the
That's
future.
what's
So
up.
I want to be in tune. I just want to kind of look at it as my baby and be like, "Oh man, it's crying over here. Oh, it's not well over
Mm-hmm.
here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I make this better?" And
Mm-hmm.
so what I've been saying a lot lately is if I could be creative here, what if I put that creative energy somewhere else? Or what if I just invested 1/10 of the time that I maybe put here, but now I'm kind of a beast here and I don't need to put as much time. Maybe I could put it on something else because I've kind of figured out design and I'm in this like groove where I'm just breathing designs now
Mm,
and I'm not even it doesn't even feel like I'm thinking or being creative. So I've hit this not stunt because I keep making new things almost without even thinking now. It takes very little time. It's like putting 1 + 1 + 1. I know how to find these little points and connect them and make a design very easy and then have hundreds of new things every month all over. So I'm like, okay, well, where else could I put creative energy? Where else could I learn and get really good at something new? I'm just at that point now where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be 40 in a couple of years. That's weird even saying that, but to me, it's not a big deal. But I
mhm,
want to be at a new place in my 40s, physically and mentally and creatively, where I could look back and be like, damn, I'm so happy I put time into learning about cribs and foundation and working with contractors and builders the same way I've learned how to throw events almost for free, um, connecting
mm,
hundreds of people. And of course, I couldn't build a house for free. But I'm like, if I could be
mm,
creative here and build something really cool efficiently, what if I put that energy somewhere else too? And find someone to work with me to be handling some of the tasks that I've been doing. So now I have a little bit more time. So
mhm,
I'm at that gremlin stage where like the water is affecting me, but I haven't turned another gremlin out of me. I don't know if you ever saw that movie,
mhm, mhm.
but
I did, but it's been a long time.
the water goes on the gremlin and then the gremlin multiplies. But I'm at a
Oh,
point now where
okay.
like the water's on me, but I'm not multiplying yet. So
Hmm.
I'm at that point now. Like, all right, I have to multiply. So then I could put creative energy into these other things because I'm kind of full time swinging now at my job, what I do in my business. It's
Hmm.
hard to jump into anything else because the business.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
but I want to because and now I have that hunger. So that's where I'm at. I'm just like, yo, I want to put some more creative energy in and be educated in a whole new world and be creative in that world. So it's cool. It's cool to just want to grow. Um, but no, we're coming up with some good stuff here, man.
oh man, that's awesome, bro. Really
Yeah,
happy for you, man. Really happy for you.
you too, man. I'm excited. I know you got a whole new project that's in the
Yeah,
works. I can't wait for
yeah,
you to share it with the
yeah.
world.
Absolutely, bro. I spent some time on it, man. And it's fully recorded. I just got to send it out to get it mixed and mastered. And yeah, but I'm really, really excited for this project that's about to drop. We'll be announcing the title very, very soon. Um, but yeah, I poured my heart, soul, everything that I got into it, and I just can't wait to share it for real, for real.
That's
Yeah,
yeah, we're excited too. So we were talking earlier and you gave me a really good idea for a game for the show. So you came up with a segment called Hand Out the Flowers, a
yeah,
segment dedicated to shouting out all the people we appreciate and that has contributed to our success and continue to show love when no one is watching.
yeah,
So I don't know if I want this to be a 14-hour show, so I may not start this,
yeah.
but
Okay.
maybe you could start it off and there's some people that I was thinking of, but maybe you start us off and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's not I can't cover everybody myself,
Right.
but I got a couple names that I definitely want to, shout out because they play a big role in just the music and just my life in general. So definitely want to shout out my man Terry, my friend Shama, who's they're both spiritual pillars in my life who pour into me, consistently, just encouragement, words of encouragement, words of wisdom. Um, and definitely want to shout out my boy Ron. Boy Ron is, he's a beast, man. He's
Shout
a
out to
huge
him.
blessing too. Super cool dude. Uh, Danny Ray as well, like
Shout
awesome
out.
duo.
Thoroughbred.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. El Bezel, El Bezel for opening the doors to Billion Bars and allowing me to perform, as well as Thorough too, Thorough Entertainment. Because of them, I was able to perform my first show back in March. My boy Gennaro Ortiz, he was actually the first dude that I went to record my first track up in Hackensack. So big shout out to him. My boy Bern Hardy, who is an amazing photographer, videographer, producer, mixer. He does it all, man. Shout out to him. He's doing big things at World Walker Studio. My boy Nimbus mixed it. Amazing engineer, top notch dude, super cool dude. He's awesome. My boy Gerard, we've been making music for a minute now. That's my homie. You know what I'm saying? That's a day one right there. My boy Malcolm, amazing producer out in Patterson, amazing with the keys. He's like, yo, like none other, honestly, for real. My guy Jarrell taught me Ableton. Everything that I know from Ableton came from that dude. And there's just so many more. Actually, before I close it off, I gotta mention my boy Lucas, who as well, he when I was learning production, like music production, back in like 2019, I remember he stepped in and like he taught me a lot as well. We got a couple tracks also in the works. Amazing dude from Uruguay. Yo, he's doing some big things, man, doing some big things. So shout out to Lucas, man, for real.
That's real, man. That's
Yeah,
I think that's what life's all about, just being grateful. Being
yeah,
grateful and
yeah,
just and letting people know, because we're all living a lot of the time we don't even know we're helping anyone. We're just there,
yeah,
we're doing what we do. We're going off a feeling. We're like, "Oh, I got to look out for my boy." Oh, so it's just nice to hear these and that was a long list, man. I Good thing
yeah,
we don't have
yeah.
MySpace anymore. That top 8 would have been tricky for you.
Yeah, bro. Again,
You would
man,
need a
just
top
super
50.
grateful. Yeah.
That's real. So, when you told me about this, it's so crazy because I've actually been wanting to do something like this, where it was just like
Hmm.
doing a shout out per episode of one person
Hmm.
that was important to me. That maybe a lot has happened since, and maybe we haven't collabed in a decade, but or maybe we collabed recently or something, right? But it's so crazy that you brought this up because I've been wanting to do like this just shout out thing. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when you said that, I was like, oh, this is perfect. So there's someone I wanted to shout out. Um, so I'll just do one person, just to keep it
That's
simple.
cool.
So I wanted to
Yeah.
shout out my homegirl Carolyn from CD Skate Shop.
Okay, okay.
So I could almost remember the void that I felt when I had my brand. And it wasn't a void of feeling unloved. It was just unknowing of anything. I didn't know where to go. I was just happy I had one
Mm,
design. I was the most simple It was the most
ah,
simple time for me. We had one shirt. At that time, I was just dropping one shirt at a time, one shirt at a time, every month or every other month. And it wasn't even a brand, like it was just in this beginning stage where I was starting to put it out. And there's a woman who has a skate shop. Well, she had a skate shop on Victory Boulevard, right next to one of my favorite pizza spots, Joe and Pat's. I would go in there all the time, get something or just chop it up. And I told her about the brand. And I remember she was like, David, I would love to have some of your stuff in the shop. And I didn't know how any of this worked, man. I didn't have tags on the stuff. I didn't even have the inside print. So everything just still had the Gildan tag. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
retail ready. And she had no clue if she was going to sell anything.
Mm.
She had no, it wasn't like I was Vans or I was freaking Thrasher or something at that time. This was Stereotype in like 2010, which was like the first year. Well, 2008, it was like 2009. I literally had these first shirts. They look like someone drew them with like chalk on a chalkboard. It was to match my album, which came out right around that time, which was crazy. The 14 something years ago when I was doing
Wow.
music. So that Carolyn's like, yeah, Dave, just, I was like, oh, well, what do I do? I just make them and bring them here and then you'll pay me. She's like, no, I'll just buy them. I'll buy like 15, 20 shirts and then I'll resell them. Just let me know what you want me to pay for them. I didn't even know what to charge, but I just wanted to shout her out because at that moment, that was such a special moment for me to one, I wasn't even in the most professional part of my life. The product looked good, but there were still little parts to it that probably could have been a little bit more retail ready to be in a dope shop like that. And this woman took a chance and she gave me a couple $100. Didn't even know if she would make it back. And that did a lot for me.
Mm.
That did a lot for
Mm.
me at that moment. To just
Wow.
have my stuff in a skate shop in Staten Island.
That's big.
It meant a lot. It meant a lot. And I miss that shop. We had some amazing memories, some amazing fundraisers for Christmas time. So I just wanted to shout out Carolyn. I hope you're well and thank you. It really means a lot when you bought all those shirts years ago. And she was so cool, man. She even made me a pillow cutting up one of the shirts that she bought for me. And then she gave me a pillow with the shirt. She turned the shirt into a pillow.
Oh, wow, that's sick. You still got it?
She, yeah, yeah. And then she gave it to me like 7, 8, like 9 years
Wow.
later. So,
Oh, snap.
so
Yo,
that's
that's
amazing. So
crazy.
I just wanted to shout out her.
Yo,
There was
that's
just
that's
that was
dope.
just dope. Thank you, Carolyn. I hope you're well, and thank you for all the memories and believing in me at an early time. And thank you, bro, for pushing me to do this part of the show.
Bro. Hey man, just thank you for like having like a section like that because usually, it's usually everything's like already, pre-planned, but to be able to like, work that out with you is like that's a great opportunity, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. You sparked a fire because, as I said, if I was shouting at everyone, it would be a 14-hour episode. So I have so
No,
many
I
good
get it. I
stories.
get it.
I'm so
Yeah.
grateful, and it was so nice to hear your shout outs and hearing you give flowers to folks. And I'm grateful to know some of them, and those
Yeah,
people are dope, and so good stuff, man.
absolutely, bro.
So for anyone that wants to follow your journey, connect with you, where could they get you? Where could they connect with you?
For sure. So for Instagram, they can follow me at Johnny Montano _. So that's JohnnyMontano _. And that's me. For TikTok, same thing. And for YouTube. So pretty much for all the platforms as well as Spotify too. You can find me at Johnny Montano on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music. I'm there. So yeah, that's how you'll find me.
That's what's up, man. So of course, dreams are everything, right? It's everything to me, at least, and I hope for many people out there. But you've given some amazing gems. You started off as just someone who loved music as at 5 years old.
Mhm.
Shout out to your sis for just playing music at a very high level where
Yeah,
anyone could
shout out
hear
to
it.
Sis. Yep.
And then you just held on to it. And then you have just been on this constant art journey ever since. This guy, he found his passion at a young age, but then he just kept adding chapters to his book. He got into different parts of the arts, whether it was interior design, architecture, graffiti, and he just kept exploring, and he just kept that exploration of life attitude on his crafts and just life. He talked about being a lifelong learner, someone just, whether it's an experience, saying no to someone that he loves to kind of make time for something, or just dealing with something in the music biz, just always learning, always finding ways to navigate and get better from the day before, you know, fi- and not being so hard on himself, but still being hard on himself and pushing himself, whether it's like, okay, I didn't meditate today. All right, well, I'm gonna find time a little bit later. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna figure this out, and for someone who's just still in their 20s, it's just great to hear the wisdom from you, bro. I can't imagine where you're gonna be in just a year or two. You're already 2 projects in. I can't wait to hear the new project.
Mm. Mhm.
And just someone who's grateful. This guy, didn't forget anyone along the way. He spent like 20 minutes just shouting out people that mattered in his life and made sure that they remembered the impact that they left.
Absolutely, for sure.
So, bro, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing your journey continue to evolve over time.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a blast, bro. And bro, let this not be the last time, bro, because I really enjoyed this whole interview. And you did an amazing job too. You gave me some amazing questions. So for sure, bro, we definitely gotta do this again for sure.
Of course, man. Of course. So for anyone with a dream, right, and they're going for it, but they don't know where to go. What would you tell someone who has a dream or someone who wants to go after something that matters to them?
Man, it's a great question because that question, um, in order for you to answer that question, you have to evaluate where you're at in life. Where are you currently? But I would say, um, meditate on it, really understand why you want to pursue it, why do you want to start? Because there's a lot of things that come along with starting the journey. And if your why isn't strong enough, it's just gonna wipe you away. So really meditate on why you want to start that journey. And if that why is strong enough and is worth it to you, then go for it. And then figure out the process as you go along, because you won't have all the answers right away. You're just not. But if, like I said, your why is strong enough and is worth it, then, just try it out, because it's all a learning process anyway. So, go with it, go in it with an open mind and learn. You're just gonna have to pivot, along the way.
Love it, man. So, bro, yeah, you're always welcome back. Everyone, make sure to go check his stuff out, follow his journey, and everyone out there, we say it, don't stop dreaming. He pointed out some
Never,
amazing stuff.
never.
We have the world, we have all these resources at our fingertips, but what are we gonna do with them? That'll always
Mm-hmm,
stick with me, bro. We have all these
mm-hmm,
resources, but what are we gonna do with the resources? Are we gonna
mm-hmm,
drive by and wave? Are we gonna walk into that Sam Ash every week
mm-hmm.
and educate ourselves, or go to someone, a mentor, or connect with a friend to learn something? So yeah, man, thank you for sharing your story, bro, and you're always welcome back.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you, man.